Lady Philippa Thornhill stood frozen in the doorway of the drawing room. Her fingers gripped the silver tea tray so hard they turned white. Inside, her stepmother's voice rang out like broken glass. "Look at her neck, marked like a common trollop." The other ladies gasped. Philippa's free hand flew to her throat. The bruises there were not what they thought. Yesterday, her stepbrother had shoved her against the stable wall. His hands had circled her neck when she refused to forge their father's signature. The marks were fingerprints of violence, not passion. 26 years old and no husband, Lady Thornhill continued. Now we know why. She's been giving herself to footmen. Hot shame flooded Philippa's cheeks. She wanted to run, to hide, to disappear into the walls of Thornhill Manor like a ghost. But she had been summoned to serve tea. If she fled, the punishment would be worse. She stepped into the room. Her worn grey dress whispered against the carpet. 6 pairs of eyes turned toward her. Their gazes felt like knives cutting into her skin. "Set it here, girl," Lady Thornhill commanded. She never called Philippa by her title, never acknowledged that Philippa's blood was noble while her own had been bought with a merchant's fortune. Philippa moved forward. Her hands trembled. The teacups rattled against their saucers. A small splash of hot tea landed on Lady Thornhill's silk gown. The slap came so fast Philippa barely saw it. Her head snapped to the side. The tray clattered to the floor. Tea spread across the expensive rug like a dark stain. "Clumsy fool," Lady Thornhill hissed. "Clean it up, then go to your room. I don't want to see your shameful face for the rest of the day." Philippa dropped to her knees. She gathered the broken porcelain with shaking fingers. A sharp edge cut her palm. Blood welled up, mixing with the spilled tea. She didn't make a sound. Pain was an old friend now. Lady Thornhill's guests whispered among themselves. Their voices dripped with pity and disgust. Poor creature. So unfortunate. What a burden to the family. Philippa had heard it all before. She had been beautiful once, or so her father had told her before he died. He had promised she would make a brilliant match, that some lord would be honored to claim her as his bride. But that was 10 years ago, before the fever took him, before Lady Thornhill and her vicious son moved into Thornhill Manor like invading soldiers. Now, Philippa was the family shame. Too old to marry, too plain to attract attention, too poor to have prospects. Her father's estate had passed to a distant male cousin. Lady Thornhill received a generous widow's portion. Philippa received nothing but a roof over her head and daily reminders of her worthlessness. She finished cleaning the mess. Her cut palm left small red smears on the cloth. She gathered everything onto the ruined tray and hurried from the room. Behind her, the laughter started. In the kitchen, Mrs. Bartley, the cook, took one look at Philippa's face and pulled her into a fierce hug. The old woman had served Philippa's mother. She remembered when Philippa had been the cherished daughter of the house. "There now, child," Mrs. Bartley murmured. "Don't let them break you." But Philippa felt already broken. She had felt that way for years. That night she stood at her bedroom window. Her room was in the servants' quarters now, small and cold, with a narrow bed and a cracked mirror. She looked at her reflection in the dark glass. The bruises on her neck showed purple and ugly against her pale skin. Tomorrow, those marks would tell a story. A false story that would spread through the county like wildfire. Philippa Thornhill, the desperate spinster, had taken a lover. How scandalous. How pathetic. She touched the bruises gently. They hurt. Everything hurt. A tear slipped down her cheek, then another. She let herself cry in the darkness. No one could see her here. No one would call her weak. She had been strong for so long. 10 years of abuse. 10 years of cruelty. 10 years of watching her home become a prison and her life become a nightmare. How much longer could she endure? Far across the county, in a manor 3 times the size of Thornhill, Lord Garrett Blackwood stood in his study. He stared at a portrait on the wall. His wife smiled down at him from the painted canvas. She had been dead for 5 years. Garrett was only 32, but he felt ancient. The years since Margaret's death had been empty, cold. He moved through his days like a man walking through fog. Nothing touched him. Nothing moved him. His mother had been pressuring him to remarry. A duke needed an heir, she insisted. The Blackwood line must continue. But Garrett couldn't imagine loving anyone the way he had loved Margaret. The thought of replacing her felt like betrayal. He was known throughout the county as the Beast of Blackwood Manor. Not because he was cruel. He wasn't. But because he was cold, distant. He rarely smiled. He never laughed. He moved through society like a dark shadow, fulfilling his duties without joy. People feared him. His servants walked quietly in his presence. His tenants kept their heads down when he passed. Even his mother spoke carefully around him now. Garrett knew what they called him. He didn't care. The nickname suited him fine. A beast didn't need warmth, didn't need companionship. A beast lived alone in his cave and troubled no one. But tonight, something felt different. A restlessness moved through him, like wind through empty rooms. He looked at Margaret's portrait and felt nothing. When had the numbness started? When had he stopped even feeling grief? His butler knocked softly. "Your Grace, Lady Blackwood requests your presence in the drawing room." Garrett sighed. Another lecture about marriage, no doubt. Another list of suitable young ladies. Another attempt to resurrect a dead man. He followed the butler. His mother sat by the fire, looking determined. Garrett braced himself. "I've made a decision," Lady Blackwood announced. "You will marry within 3 months. If you don't choose a bride yourself, I will choose one for you." Garrett's jaw tightened. "You cannot force me to marry." "Can I not?" "You are slowly dying, Garrett, turning to stone. Margaret has been gone for 5 years. She would not want this for you. You didn't know what Margaret wanted. I know she loved you. I know she would want you to live, not merely exist." Garrett turned away. His mother's words hit too close to truth. He was existing, not living. But he didn't know how to change. Didn't know if he even wanted to. 3 months, his mother repeated. "Find a wife or I will find one for you. I will not watch you waste away into nothing." Garrett left without responding. He walked through the vast, empty halls of Blackwood Manor. Room after room of silence, of loneliness, of nothing. Maybe his mother was right. Maybe it was time to stop hiding from life. But how did a beast learn to be human again? How did a man made of ice learn to feel warmth? He didn't have answers, only questions that kept him awake through another long, dark night. 3 weeks later, scandal exploded across the county. Lady Philippa Thornhill had been caught in a compromising position with a footman, or so the rumors claimed. The truth was murkier, but truth didn't matter when reputation was destroyed. Lady Thornhill seized her opportunity. She went to the Duke of Blackwood with tears in her eyes and lies on her tongue. Her poor stepdaughter had brought shame to the family. She was ruined, unmarriageable. But perhaps His Grace, in his infinite mercy, might consider taking the girl off her hands. A marriage of convenience, naturally. Philippa would be grateful for any arrangement. She had no other prospects. Lady Thornhill would expect no bride price. Indeed, she would pay the Duke a settlement for his trouble. Garrett listened to the proposal with growing disgust. He saw through Lady Thornhill's performance, saw the calculation in her eyes. This woman wanted to be rid of her stepdaughter, wanted to profit from doing so. His first instinct was to refuse. He didn't want a forced bride, didn't want to tie himself to scandal. But something made him pause. A memory of his mother's words, a strange curiosity about the woman everyone called ruined. "I will consider it," he heard himself say, "but I must meet Lady Philippa first." Lady Thornhill's smile was triumphant, too triumphant. Garrett's suspicion deepened. The meeting was arranged for the following day. Garrett rode to Thornhill Manor with a sense of walking toward his doom, or perhaps toward something else entirely. Philippa was brought to him like a prisoner facing execution. She kept her eyes down, her hands twisted together in her lap. She wore a high-necked dress that covered the marks on her throat. Marks Garrett could still see the fading shadows of. Those weren't love bites. Garrett had seen enough injuries to recognize finger-shaped bruises. Someone had hurt this woman. Someone had tried to strangle her. His anger stirred, the first real emotion he'd felt in months. "Lady Philippa," he said quietly, "look at me." She raised her eyes slowly. They were gray, like storm clouds, beautiful and haunted. She expected cruelty from him, expected rejection or worse. "Tell me the truth about those marks on your neck," Garrett commanded. She flinched. Her hand went to her throat instinctively. It's not what people say." "I know it's not. Tell me the truth." Tears filled her eyes. "My stepbrother. He was angry. He grabbed me. I wouldn't do what he wanted. The truth, simply spoken. No elaborate lies, no attempts at manipulation. Just honest pain." Garrett made his decision. "We will marry in 1 week. Your stepmother will not attend the ceremony. Your stepbrother will not be permitted at Blackwood Manor. Do you accept these terms?" Philippa stared at him. "You still want to marry me, even knowing I'm ruined?" "You're not ruined. You're trapped. There's a difference." She began to cry then. Not delicate tears, but wrenching sobs. The sound broke something open in Garrett's chest. When had he last heard such raw emotion? When had he last felt it? He crossed to her chair, knelt before her, offered his handkerchief. "You're safe now," he said. "I give you my word." She looked at him like he was speaking a foreign language, like kindness was something she no longer understood. That, more than anything, told Garrett what her life had been. He was marrying a broken bird. But perhaps broken things could heal each other. The wedding took place in Blackwood Manor's private chapel. Only a handful of people attended. Philippa wore a simple cream gown that belonged to Garrett's mother. She looked terrified, like she might bolt at any moment. Garrett spoke his vows clearly, promised to honor and protect her. Meant every word. When it came time to kiss his bride, he kept it brief and gentle. Her lips trembled under his. They were married. She was his wife, his duchess, and he had no idea what to do with her. That night, Garrett had a separate bedroom prepared for Philippa. He knew she feared the wedding night, feared him probably. He sent word through his mother that he wouldn't disturb her. She could rest, recover, learn to feel safe. Lady Blackwood approved. "You're being kind to her, Garrett. I'm glad. She's been hurt enough. I won't add to her suffering." "Perhaps she's exactly what you need, someone who understands pain." Garrett didn't respond. He didn't know what he needed, didn't know what this marriage would become. He only knew he wouldn't hurt her. Wouldn't let anyone else hurt her either. Philippa lay in her new bedroom and couldn't believe what was happening. The room was 10 times the size of her servants' quarters. The bed was soft. The fire was warm. No one had yelled at her all day. Her husband had been kind, strange, but kind. He had looked at her like she mattered, like she was worth protecting. No man had looked at her that way in 10 years. She touched the ring on her finger, gold and heavy, real. This was real. She was the Duchess of Blackwood now, safe from Lady Thornhill, safe from her stepbrother, safe from the cruel world that had beaten her down. A sob escaped her throat, then another. She cried into her pillow, muffling the sounds. These were different tears than the ones she usually shed. These were tears of relief, of hope, of feeling like maybe, just maybe, her life might not be over after all. The days that followed were strange. Philippa moved through Blackwood Manor like she was walking through a dream. Everything was beautiful. Everything was peaceful. She kept waiting for the nightmare to start, but it didn't come. Garrett was distant but never cruel. He took breakfast with her each morning, asked about her comfort, made sure she had everything she needed. He didn't demand anything from her, didn't force himself into her space. He was patient in a way she didn't understand. The servants were kind. They called her Your Grace, and actually meant it with respect. Mrs. Winters, the housekeeper, took special care to make her feel welcome. Even Garrett's mother, Lady Blackwood, treated her with warmth. Philippa didn't know how to accept kindness anymore. She kept expecting the trap. The moment when everything would turn cruel again. But it never came. One morning, she found Garrett in the library. He was reading by the fire. The morning light caught in his dark hair. He looked softer in that moment, less like the beast everyone described. "May I sit with you?" Philippa asked softly. He looked up, surprised. "Of course, this is your home." She settled into a chair across from him, picked up a book from the side table. They read in companionable silence. The only sounds were crackling fire and turning pages. It was the most peaceful morning Philippa had known in years. After an hour, Garrett spoke. "Are you settling in well?" "Yes. Everyone has been very kind." "Good." He paused. "You don't have to be afraid of me, Philippa. I know I'm not warm. I know they call me the Beast, but I won't hurt you." She met his eyes. "I know. You've been nothing but kind to me. I'm not used to kindness." Something flickered in his gaze. Understanding, maybe. "Neither am I. Not anymore." They looked at each other. Two damaged people trying to figure out how to exist in the same space. It wasn't romance, not yet, but it was connection. A small thread between them, fragile but real. "Tell me about your wife," Philippa said suddenly, "if it's not too painful." Garrett was quiet for a long moment. "Margaret. She was sunshine. Everything I'm not. She made me laugh, made me feel alive. When she died, part of me died with her." "I'm sorry. That must have been unbearable." "It was. Still is sometimes." He studied her. "What about you? Has anyone ever made you feel alive?" Philippa thought about it. "My father, maybe, before he died. He made me feel loved, valued. I haven't felt that way since." "You should feel that way. You deserve to feel that way." The words hit her like a physical blow. When had anyone last told her she deserved anything? Tears pricked her eyes. She blinked them away quickly. Garrett saw them anyway. He rose from his chair, came to kneel beside her, just as he had on the day they met. You're safe here, Philippa. I need you to believe that. I'm trying, she whispered. I promise I'm trying. He took her hand gently. His thumb brushed over her knuckles. The touch was warm, careful. Take your time. We have all the time in the world. Something shifted in that moment. The thread between them grew stronger. Not love, not yet, but the possibility of it. The seed of something that might grow if given care and time. Philippa found herself wanting to water that seed, wanting to see what might bloom between them. For the first time in years, she felt a flicker of hope that life might hold something beautiful for her after all. 2 months into their marriage, something changed. It started small. Garrett asking Philippa to join him on his morning ride. Philippa inviting Garrett to take tea with her in the garden. Conversations that lasted longer than necessary. Glances that held meaning. They were becoming friends. One afternoon, Philippa was in the rose garden when she heard shouting. She hurried toward the sound and found Garrett facing a well-dressed stranger. The man's face was red with anger. You owe me that land, Blackwood. Your father promised. My father promised nothing in writing, Garrett said coldly. And I will not honor verbal agreements made in his cups. Now leave my property before I have you removed. The man's hand went to his riding crop. He raised it, clearly intending to strike. Garrett didn't flinch, but Philippa did. She ran forward without thinking, placed herself between Garrett and the stranger. Stop! The man's eyes widened. Move aside, girl. This doesn't concern you. She is my wife, Garrett said, his voice deadly quiet. And if you raise your hand to her, I will break every bone in your body. Something in his tone made the stranger back down. He lowered the crop, shot them both a venomous look, then left, spurring his horse viciously. Garrett turned to Philippa. His hands gripped her shoulders. What were you thinking? He could have hurt you. He was going to hurt you, she said simply. I can handle myself. But you, Philippa, you can't just throw yourself in front of danger like that. Why not? You're my husband. I won't stand by and watch someone hurt you. He stared at her. Something blazed in his dark eyes, something intense and new. You're remarkable. Do you know that? Heat flooded her cheeks. I'm not. I couldn't let him hit you. Garrett's hands slid from her shoulders to her face. He cupped her cheeks gently. You could have been hurt. The thought of that. He stopped, took a shaky breath. I can't bear the thought of that. Philippa's heart hammered. She could feel his pulse where his wrists pressed against her jaw, fast and hard, matching her own. I'm fine. We're both fine. Yes, we are. But he didn't let go. His thumbs traced her cheekbones. His gaze dropped to her lips. Philippa. The moment stretched, fragile and electric. Philippa held her breath, waiting, wanting something she couldn't name. Then, Garrett stepped back, dropped his hands. I should check the perimeter, make sure that man actually left. He walked away quickly. Left Philippa standing in the garden with her heart racing and her skin tingling where he had touched her. Something had shifted. They both felt it. The comfortable friendship was becoming something more, something deeper and more dangerous. That night, Philippa couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the look in Garrett's eyes, about the way his hands had trembled slightly when he touched her face, about the way her whole body had responded to his nearness. She wasn't supposed to feel this way. This marriage was supposed to be a practical arrangement, safety in exchange for companionship. But practical arrangements didn't make your heart race, didn't make you lie awake imagining what might have happened if he had kissed you. Down the hall, Garrett wasn't sleeping either. He stood at his window, looking out at the moonlit grounds. His mind kept replaying the moment Philippa had thrown herself in front of him. The fierce protectiveness in her eyes. The courage it must have taken for someone who had been abused to stand up to danger. She had defended him. Him, the beast of Blackwood Manor. The cold, dead thing everyone feared. She had looked at him like he was worth protecting, worth caring for. When had he started caring for her? Really caring, not just protecting her out of duty. He couldn't pinpoint the exact moment. It had crept up on him like dawn breaking, gradual and then sudden. He thought about her laugh, how rare it was, but how beautiful when it came. He thought about the way she bit her lip when she was concentrating on a book, the way she hummed softly when she arranged flowers, the way she had started to relax around him, losing the constant tension that had marked her first weeks here. She was healing. And somehow, without him noticing, so was he. The realization struck him like lightning. He was healing. The numb emptiness was fading. He felt things again. Anger when he thought about her stepfamily. Amusement at her dry wit. Contentment during their quiet mornings. And now, desire. Affection. The stirrings of something that terrified him. He was falling in love with his wife. The next day, Garrett found Philippa in the music room. She was playing the pianoforte, her fingers moving softly over the keys. The melody was sad and sweet. It pierced his heart. "I didn't know you played," he said from the doorway. She stopped abruptly. "I'm sorry. I should have asked permission." "Philippa." He crossed to her, sat beside her on the bench. "You don't need permission to use anything in this house. It's yours. All of it. I forget sometimes that this is my home too." "Then let me remind you." He reached past her and played a simple chord. "What were you playing?" "It was beautiful. Something my mother taught me, before she died." "Play it for me, please." She hesitated. Then her hands found the keys again. The melody filled the room. Garrett watched her face, saw the emotion there, the memories, the longing for something lost. When she finished, he spoke softly. "Thank you for sharing that with me. My stepmother forbade me from playing, said I was too terrible to listen to. She was wrong. You're lovely." Philippa turned to him. Their faces were very close on the small bench. "You're kind to me, Garrett. Kinder than I deserve." "You deserve kindness. You deserve everything good in this world." "So do you," she whispered. "You act like you're made of stone, but I see who you really are. You're good. You're gentle. You're... what?" His voice had gone rough. "You're not a beast at all." Something broke open in Garrett's chest. Years of ice cracking. He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Her eyes fluttered closed. Their lips met. The kiss was soft, tentative. A question and an answer all at once. Garrett's hand came up to cup her face. Philippa's fingers clutched his jacket. The kiss deepened, growing warmer. When they finally parted, both were breathing hard. Philippa's eyes were wide with wonder. Garrett pressed his forehead to hers. "I didn't plan that," he said. "I'm sorry if—" "Don't be sorry. Please don't be sorry. I'm not good at this, at feeling things, at letting people in. Neither am I. We can learn together." He pulled back to look at her, really look at her. When had she become beautiful? Or had she always been beautiful, and he had just been too blind to see it? Her grey eyes shone like silver. Her lips were pink from his kiss. She looked at him like he was something precious. "I'm falling in love with you," he said. The words came out rough, unpracticed, but true. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm falling in love with you too. I didn't think I could. I didn't think anyone would ever look at me the way you do. How do I look at you? Like I matter. Like I'm not a burden. Like you're happy I exist. I am happy you exist. Desperately happy. They kissed again. Slower this time. Learning each other. Tasting joy and promise, and the beginning of something neither had expected to find. In the days that followed, they couldn't stay apart. They held hands during walks, sat close during meals, exchanged secret smiles across crowded rooms. Lady Blackwood watched them with satisfaction. Her son was coming back to life. Her new daughter-in-law was blooming like a flower finally given sun. The servants noticed too. The Duke smiled now, actually smiled. He laughed at the Duchess's jokes. He touched her constantly. Small touches. A hand at her back, fingers brushing her arm. Every touch said, "You're mine, I'm yours, we're together." Philippa had never been so happy. She woke each morning eager for the day. Garrett was teaching her to ride better. They explored the estate together. He showed her favorite spots from his childhood. She told him stories about her parents. They learned each other piece by piece. One evening, they were in the drawing room. Philippa was embroidering. Garrett was reading. The fire crackled. Rain pattered against the windows. It was perfectly domestic, perfectly peaceful. "I never want this to end," Philippa said softly. Garrett looked up. "What?" "This. Us. Being happy. I keep waiting for something to ruin it." He set down his book, crossed to her chair, knelt beside her as was becoming his habit. "Nothing will ruin this. I won't let it. You can't control everything." "No, but I can promise to fight for this. For us. Whatever comes, we'll face it together." She touched his face, traced the line of his jaw. "I love you. I need you to know that. I love you completely." "I love you too. You saved me, Philippa. I was dying before you came. Now I'm alive again." They kissed. The embroidery fell forgotten to the floor. Garrett pulled her down to the rug with him. They lay tangled together by the fire, kissing and laughing and whispering promises. The world outside didn't matter. Only this mattered. Only them. 3 weeks of perfect happiness. Then the storm arrived. It came in the form of Lady Thornhill and her son. They appeared at Blackwood Manor unannounced, demanding to see Philippa. Garrett met them in the entrance hall. His face was carved from ice. "You are not welcome here." "I have a right to see my stepdaughter," Lady Thornhill declared. "We are family." "You lost that right when you abused her. Now leave." "Abused? Is that what she told you? The girl always was a liar." Lady Thornhill's son, Marcus, stepped forward. He was a large man, brutal-looking. "Our Pippa always had a talent for playing victim. Did she tell you how she tried to seduce me? How I had to fight her off?" Rage flooded Garrett's veins. "You're lying. Get out of my house before I throw you out." "Not until we see her. We have proof of her indiscretions. Letters, witnesses. We'll ruin her name if you don't pay us to keep quiet." Blackmail. Of course. They wanted money. "I'll pay you nothing. And if you attempt to spread lies about my wife, I will destroy you both." "You think your protection means anything?" Marcus sneered. "Society will believe us over some desperate old spinster. The Duke of Blackwood married to soiled goods. It's already a scandal." Garrett moved so fast Marcus didn't see it coming. He grabbed the man by his throat, slammed him against the wall, exactly where Marcus had grabbed Philippa months ago. "I could kill you right now," Garrett said softly. "No one would stop me. You came to my house uninvited, threatened my wife. I would be perfectly justified." Marcus's face turned purple. He clawed at Garrett's hand. Garrett held him there a moment longer, then released him. Marcus collapsed, gasping. "Leave. Don't come back. If I hear you've spoken my wife's name anywhere in this county, I will make sure you regret it." Lady Thornhill grabbed her son's arm, helped him to his feet. But her eyes were calculating. "Society will hear about this. The beast and his broken bride. Mark my words, Your Grace. This isn't over." They left, but the poison had been delivered. Garrett found Philippa in her sitting room. She was pale, shaking. She had heard the commotion, knew her stepfamily had come. "They were here," she whispered. "They found me, even here. They're gone. I won't let them near you again. They'll spread lies about me, about us. They'll ruin everything. I don't care what they say. I know the truth. But society won't believe the truth. They'll believe the scandal. Your reputation will suffer because of me." Garrett pulled her into his arms. "My reputation doesn't matter. You matter. Us. Together. That's what matters. I'm ruining your life, just like I ruin everything. Stop. Listen to me, Philippa. You haven't ruined anything. You've made my life worth living again." But she couldn't hear him. The old fears were back, the old shame. She pulled away from him. "Maybe they're right. Maybe you made a mistake marrying me." "Don't say that. Don't let them win. I need to be alone, please." She fled to her bedroom, locked the door. Garrett stood outside for an hour, trying to convince her to let him in. She wouldn't. The rumors started spreading the next day. Whispers in shops, gossip at gatherings. The Duke of Blackwood and his ruined bride. She had trapped him into marriage. She was blackmailing him with false pregnancy claims. She had been a prostitute before he rescued her. Each lie was more vicious than the last. Garrett raged. He called on every family spreading gossip, threatened legal action, defended Philippa's honor fiercely. But the damage was done. Society loved a scandal. They devoured this one. Philippa withdrew further. She stopped eating properly, stopped smiling. She avoided Garrett, certain she was destroying him. The happy woman who had been blooming disappeared. In her place was the broken girl from before. "I should leave," she told him one night. "You could get an annulment. Say I deceived you." "No." Garrett's voice was firm. "Absolutely not. I'm poison to you, to everything you've built. You're my wife, my love, and I will not let you go. Even if it destroys you, I was already destroyed before you came. You put me back together. Don't you see that? All I see is my failure. I failed at being a good daughter, failed at finding a husband, failed at protecting you from scandal. I fail at everything. You haven't failed at anything. They failed you. Your stepmother, your stepbrother, society. They're the failures, not you." But Philippa couldn't believe him. The years of abuse had carved deep grooves in her soul. One season of happiness couldn't erase that damage. She began planning her departure. She would go to a cottage somewhere far away, live quietly, let Garrett divorce her and marry someone worthy. It would hurt. God, it would destroy her. But she loved him too much to ruin his life further. Lady Blackwood found her packing. "What are you doing, child?" "I have to leave. For Garrett's sake." "Nonsense. You're giving up, letting those horrible people win." "I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. You can run away, or you can stand and fight. Which are you?" Philippa looked at her mother-in-law. "I don't know how to fight. I've been beaten down my whole life." "Then it's time you learned. My son loves you. Do you love him? More than anything. Then fight for him. Fight for your marriage. Fight for your happiness. Show them all that you're stronger than their lies." "What if I'm not strong enough?" "You are. I've seen your strength. You just need to believe in it yourself." Lady Blackwood left. Philippa stood among her half-packed belongings. Her hands trembled. Fear coursed through her. But beneath the fear, something else stirred. Anger. Righteous anger at being treated like she didn't matter, at letting others define her worth. Maybe it was time to define her own worth. The county's largest social event was the Midsummer Ball. Everyone who was anyone attended. This year, all eyes would be on the Duke of Blackwood. Would he attend? Would he bring his scandalous wife? The gossip had reached a fever pitch. Garrett didn't want to go. He wanted to protect Philippa from the stares and whispers. But Philippa surprised him. "We're going," she announced the morning of the ball. "Are you certain? It will be difficult." "I'm certain. I'm done hiding. I'm done letting them make me feel ashamed. You stood up for me. Now I need to stand up for myself." Pride blazed in Garrett's eyes. "That's my Duchess." They prepared carefully. Philippa wore a gown of deep sapphire blue. It made her eyes look like sterling silver. Her hair was dressed elegantly. She looked every inch a duchess, beautiful and regal. Garrett wore formal black. He looked dangerous and handsome. They made a striking couple. When they entered the ballroom, conversation stopped. Every eye turned toward them. The silence was heavy, judgmental, cruel. Garrett felt Philippa's hand tremble on his arm. He covered it with his own. "We can leave if you want." "No, we stay." Lady Thornhill stood near the refreshment table. Marcus was beside her. They both looked triumphant. They thought they had won, thought they had driven Philippa away. Philippa walked straight toward them. Garrett followed, ready to intervene if needed. "Lady Thornhill," Philippa said clearly, her voice carried across the silent room. "You told everyone I was ruined, that I had taken a lover. Would you care to explain how I, a virgin on my wedding night, managed that feat?" Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lady Thornhill's face went red. "How dare you speak of such things in public? You made my private life public. I'm simply correcting the lies you spread." Philippa turned to address the entire room. "My stepmother hated me because I reminded her that she bought her way into our family with money. My stepbrother hated me because I refused his advances. The marks on my neck were from him attacking me, not from a lover. And my husband knows this because he asked for the truth before he married me." The crowd was riveted. This was better than any gossip. Marcus stepped forward, furious. "You lying!" Garrett moved between them. "Finish that sentence, and I'll finish you. She's making up stories to cover her shame." "No," said a voice from the crowd. Mrs. Bartley, the old cook from Thornhill Manor, stepped forward. "I saw you attack her, Marcus Thornhill. I saw the fingerprints on her throat. I've kept silent too long out of fear, but I won't watch you destroy her further." Another voice joined in, a footman from Thornhill Manor. "I saw how Lady Thornhill treated her, like a servant. Worse than a servant. She was cruel, vicious." More servants came forward. One by one they told the truth. Philippa stood in the center of the room, tears streaming down her face. These people had witnessed her suffering. Now they were defending her. Lady Thornhill and Marcus tried to argue, tried to deny it. But too many voices spoke against them. The tide had turned. The hostess of the ball, Lady Pemberton, stepped forward. She was the arbiter of society. Her word was law. "Lady Thornhill, you are no longer welcome in my home, or in polite society. Take your son and leave, immediately." It was exile, social death. Lady Thornhill's face crumpled. Marcus grabbed her arm and hauled her toward the exit. As they passed Philippa, Marcus spat. "This isn't over." Garrett moved like lightning. He grabbed Marcus by the back of his neck, dragged him close. "If you ever threaten my wife again, I will destroy you. Not just socially, I will take everything you have. Your money, your home, your freedom. Do you understand me?" Marcus's eyes went wide with fear. Yes, yes, I understand. Good. Now get out of my sight before I forget I'm a gentleman. Marcus and Lady Thornhill fled. The room buzzed with excited chatter. The scandal had reversed. Now it was Lady Thornhill who was shamed, Philippa who was the victim, the Duke who was the hero. But Garrett only cared about one thing. He turned to Philippa. She was shaking, tears still falling. He pulled her into his arms right there in the ballroom. Let everyone see. I'm so proud of you, he whispered. So incredibly proud. I was terrified, she admitted. You were magnificent. Lady Pemberton approached them. Your Grace, Duchess, I owe you both an apology. I should have questioned the rumors. I should have given you the benefit of doubt. I'm deeply sorry. Thank you, Philippa said softly. Society has been cruel to you. Let us make amends. May I have the honor of announcing your first dance as husband and wife at my ball? Philippa looked at Garrett. He smiled and held out his hand. May I have this dance, Duchess? Yes, always yes. They moved to the center of the ballroom. The music started. They danced while everyone watched. But Philippa only saw Garrett. His dark eyes were warm, full of love, full of pride. You saved me, he murmured as they turned. Again. We saved each other. Yes, we did. The dance ended. Applause filled the room. Genuine applause. Philippa was no longer the scandalous bride. She was the brave Duchess who had stood up to her abusers. She was worthy of respect, of admiration, of love. They left the ball early, rode home in the carriage with their hands intertwined. At Blackwood Manor, Garrett helped Philippa down, swept her into his arms, carried her over the threshold like a proper bridegroom. What are you doing? She laughed. I never did this properly on our wedding day. I'm correcting that mistake. He carried her up to his bedroom, set her down gently. They looked at each other in the candlelight. This was different from before. Before, they were strangers playing roles. Now they were lovers, partners, two halves of one whole. I want to give you everything, Garrett said. Everything you've been denied. Love, respect, happiness, passion. I want the same for you. I want to heal all your wounds, fill all your empty spaces. You already have. They came together slowly, tenderly, learning each other in new ways. The night was theirs, full of whispered words and gentle touches, full of love finally consummated, full of promises kept and new ones made. Afterward, they lay tangled together. Philippa traced patterns on Garrett's chest. He played with her hair. They were quiet, content, complete. Thank you, Philippa said softly. For what? For seeing me, really seeing me, for making me believe I was worth loving. Thank you for the same, for bringing me back to life. We're quite the pair, aren't we? The broken bird and the beast. Not anymore. Now we're just two people who found each other. Two people who refused to let the world defeat them. Philippa smiled. I like that better. 3 months later, Philippa stood in the rose garden. Her hand rested on her slightly rounded belly. Life grew inside her. A miracle. A blessing. Proof that broken things could create beautiful new beginnings. Garrett found her there, wrapped his arms around her from behind, placed his hands over hers on her belly. How are you feeling? Happy. So happy it frightens me sometimes. Don't be frightened. This is real. This is ours. No one can take it from us. I know. I'm learning to believe that. Lady Blackwood joined them in the garden. She smiled at the sight of them together. Her son had been dead inside for years. Now he was vibrantly alive. And her new daughter-in-law, once so timid and broken, now stood tall and confident. "I've had letters," Lady Blackwood announced. "Invitations from everyone. You've become quite popular, Philippa." "That's strange. 6 months ago they wanted nothing to do with me. 6 months ago they didn't know your true story. Now they do. Society loves a triumph over adversity." "I don't care about society," Philippa said. "I only care about this. My family, my home, my life here." "As it should be." Lady Blackwood handed her a letter. "But you might care about this one. It's from your father's cousin, the one who inherited Thornhill Manor." Philippa opened it, read quickly. Her eyes widened. "He's evicted Lady Thornhill and Marcus. They have nothing now." "Justice," Garrett said simply. "They reap what they sowed." Philippa felt a flash of satisfaction. Then it faded. "I don't want to waste energy hating them. They've taken enough from me. They don't get my thoughts anymore." "Well said." Garrett kissed her temple. "You're extraordinary." "No. I'm just someone who learned she was worth fighting for. You taught me that." "We taught each other." They stood together in the garden as the sun set. 3 people who had found family in each other. 3 people who had survived darkness and found light. The future stretched ahead, full of possibility, full of love. Philippa thought about the girl she had been. Broken, ashamed, believing she deserved nothing but cruelty. That girl was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her worth. A woman who had claimed her happiness with both hands and refused to let go. She looked at Garrett. He was watching her with such tenderness it made her heart ache. This man had saved her. But more than that, he had helped her save herself. He had shown her that love wasn't about domination or control. It was about partnership, about 2 people making each other stronger. "I love you," she said. "I need to say it often, because for so long no one said it to me." "I love you," he replied, "and I'll say it every day for the rest of our lives, so you never forget." "What should we name the baby if it's a girl?" "Margaret," Garrett said without hesitation. "After my first wife. She would have liked you, I think. She would have wanted this happiness for me." Philippa's eyes filled with tears. "That's beautiful. I'm honored. And if it's a boy? Something strong. Something that means warrior or protector, because he'll have big shoes to fill." Garrett laughed. The sound was rich and genuine, so different from the cold, silent man he had been. "Our child will be remarkable, because they'll have you as their mother, and you as their father." They kissed as the last light faded. Lady Blackwood slipped away quietly, leaving them alone. The garden was peaceful. The roses bloomed in shades of pink and red. Everything was soft and warm and right. Inside the manor, the servants prepared dinner. Mrs. Winters hummed as she worked. She had served the Duke through his darkest days. Now she served him through his brightest. It made her heart glad to see love and laughter returned to Blackwood Manor. That night, Philippa and Garrett sat together in the library, their favorite place. Philippa was embroidering tiny clothes for the baby. Garrett was reading. But really, he was just watching her. Memorizing the way the firelight caught in her hair, the small smile on her lips, the peace in her expression. This was everything. This quiet moment, this simple happiness. He had wealth, he had title, he had power, but none of it meant anything without her. "Garrett?" Philippa said without looking up. "What are you thinking?" "That I'm the luckiest man alive." "That's what I was thinking too, about being lucky." "We're not lucky, we're blessed. We found each other against all odds. We fought for each other. We chose each other every day. That's not luck, that's love." Philippa set down her embroidery, moved to sit beside him, curled against his side. Tell me a story about our future. What kind of story? A happy one, where we grow old together, where our children have children, where we never stop loving each other. Garrett wrapped his arm around her. Once upon a time, there was a beast who lived alone in a dark castle. He thought he would be alone forever. Then one day, a broken bird fell into his garden. He took her in, healed her wings, and she, in turn, taught him how to be human again. I like this story. They had a beautiful life together, many children, much love. And when they were very old, they sat together just like this. And they remembered the day they met. And they were grateful for every moment they had been given. And they lived happily ever after, Philippa finished. Yes, they did. We will. Outside, snow began to fall. The first snow of winter. It covered Blackwood Manor in white, transformed it into something magical. Inside, the fire burned warm. Love filled every room. Joy echoed in every corner. The beast and the broken bird had found their happy ending. Not because it was easy, not because it was given to them, but because they had fought for it, because they had refused to let cruelty and darkness win, because they had chosen love over fear, chosen each other over everything else. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Their story would be told for generations. The Duke who learned to love again. The Duchess who learned she was worthy of being loved. Two broken souls who mended each other. Two lonely hearts that became one. It was a story of triumph, of healing, of love conquering all. It was the kind of story that made people believe in second chances, in the power of kindness, in the possibility of happiness even after the deepest pain. It was, quite simply, a love story, the very best kind. And it was real.